Today we are going to be learning about lines and patterns. We're going to be learning how to create those in our umbrella line drawing. This will get us ready for those April showers that will be coming soon. So before we begin, there's a few materials that we want to get gathered. So after you see the materials, you want to pause the video, gather them, and we'll get started. So today we're going to need a ruler or something with a straight edge, a pencil and an eraser, a Sharpie or black marker, along with a skinnier Sharpie or black pen. You'll also need some crayons, colored pencils, or markers, whatever ones you have available to you. That would be great. If you don't have these available, don't worry, they look great in black and white too. And last but not least, we're going to need our drawing board or our canvas. I use white copy paper. You can use a sketchbook or any other material you have available to you to draw on. Be bigger, larger, or smaller. Whatever you have available to you will be great. Alright, once you have your materials ready, let's get started. So once we have all our materials, we're ready to begin. So I'm going to be creating a small dot right above the center of our paper. We don't want to do it at the center, and we don't want to be too close to the top, because if we have too close to the top, we won't have room for our umbrella, and if we're too close to the bottom, we won't have room for our person. So I'm going to find that center line, and I'm going to go slightly above it and draw a small circle or dot. Once I have my dot, I'm going to take my ruler or my straight edge, and I am going to find the center. And I'm going to use a ruler so I can make sure that I have my lines as close to even as possible on the top and the bottom. That way I create a nice even umbrella and even triangles. So I'm going to begin. I'm going to be doing 2.5 inches, and this can vary depending on your size paper. And I'm going to draw a line above and a line below. So I'm going to have a straight line down the middle of my paper. I'm going to be doing the same thing on the opposite direction. So we're actually going to be creating a plus sign. So I'm going to do 2.5 inches again toward the center, and then 2.5 inches on the other side. So we create our plus sign. With this plus sign, I'm going to split it right down the middle. So between these two lines, I'm going to create another line. Again, finding the center of the dot and going 2.5 inches above and 2.5 inches below. And one more time down the last two lines. Two and a half inches above and 2.5 inches below. So in total, we'll have 8 triangles. And if yours isn't quite around the center, that's okay. You can make your dot a little bit bigger. So once I have my dot and my 8 triangles, it's time to do the last step of creating the outside lines to create the outside of our umbrella. So I'm going to connect all my lines. So I'm going to have the points together, and I'm just going to draw a nice line in between them all. And I'm going to repeat this step for all 8 triangles. So once I have all my lines drawn, we're ready to start the next step. And the next step is to create our body of our person. So what I'm going to do is, you can see there's a little point at the bottom of the umbrella. So on one side of the point, I'm going to go up just a little bit from the center, and I'm going to draw a line straight down, almost about a finger width distance. I'm going to draw that line straight down, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you want to, you can add a little flip at the end to make it a little fancy, or you can make a nice little square rectangle. After I have my 2 lines, I'm going to connect the 2 just as we did with our umbrella. But this time we're going to give it a little bit of a curve. Once we have our curved line connected, we're going to go in between the two dots, so this point in our outside line, and we're going to draw another line straight down to the bottom. This will create the fold in our jacket. And then on either side, we're going to create our buttons for our jacket. So I'm just going to do 3 little dots to create our button on our jacket. Next up, we have our feet. With our feet, I'm going to make 2 straight lines down, following the center of my buttons, and then just another one on the other side. So we create a nice skinny rectangle. But we're going to have 2 legs, so we're going to have another line right there. To create our shoes, we're going to start with the first 2 lines we created. So this middle line is going to be where I'm going to start. So I'm going to nice curve down to create our shoe. And I'm going to do the same thing with that outside line. But our outside line doesn't create the whole shoe, it creates part of the shoe because it's further back. So our shoe line will connect right at the bottom. As you can see over here, our shoe lines connect right at the bottom, so it looks like our one leg is behind. And then I'm going to add 2 little smiley faces to give it our little curve of our boot. And you can add polka dots, keep them plain, you can make little stripes, whatever you want to use to fancy up your shoes. And if you want, we're going to add a puddle, so we're just going to make a little wavy oval and then add a little bit of half circles. So I'm just going to make little curved lines to make it look like little ripples in the water. And there you go. Now that our drawing is complete, it is time to learn about lines and patterns. Here I have for you a few examples of lines and patterns. Lines and patterns help create what we see. We use lines in our umbrella drawing to create our person, our umbrella, and our puddle. We use vertical, horizontal, and diagonal lines. We also use curved lines to create ripples in the puddle. So again, lines and patterns help create what we see. So in our umbrella squares, we have 8 of them, or 8 triangles. We are going to choose a pattern for each triangle. So we're going to do 8 different patterns using lines and shapes. So here I have a few examples of lines and patterns. And patterns are lines that are repeated and also shapes that are repeated. So as you can see in our line example, we have straight and diagonal lines, we have waves, we have broken lines, we have wavy lines, loop-de-loops, and also jagged lines. We also have very similar of those in their patterns. We have broken triangles, we have shapes such as hearts, circles, and triangles, we have diagonal lines, loop-de-loops, and circles. One difference is that we often see shapes within our patterns. So patterns are a repetition of shapes and lines. And again, they help create what we see. So these are a few examples of lines and patterns that we can be using in our umbrella drawings. So in our umbrella drawings, if we take a look at the one I already completed, I used different shapes and lines to create different areas of interest in my 8 triangles. I used hearts, lines, waves, and dots, and also a few others to create areas of interest. I also colored those in to give them a little bit of variation, but again, if you don't have those materials, no need to worry, they look great in black and white too. So I'm going to set my example off to the side, and we're going to begin by making our patterns and our lines in our umbrella. So you can start, I recommend starting with a pencil. I'm going to start with a Sharpie pen, and I'm going to create my patterns. So I'm going to do the hearts again. So I'm going to do a repetition of hearts and circles. So I'm going to do a heart, a circle, a heart, a circle, heart and a circle, and so on. I'm going to repeat this pattern along with others to fill in my umbrella. Once you have it all drawn in, all your patterns, you're going to trace it with a black pen or Sharpie to give it a nice outline. Once you have your Sharpie, you can take a pencil, a crayon, and you can begin to color. If you don't have these materials, like I said, it looks great in black and white too. And that's everything, and I hope you enjoy this lesson.